Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to week number 4 of the TGP1 season. We are here in the United States of America at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. I'm joined in the commentary box tonight by Dom Smith, who we'll come to in a moment, but you join us in the early stages of the championship as we're getting to that critical point where drivers will either start to eke out an advantage or will get closer. With a very clear leader in the standings so far after 2 wins last week. Softy comes into the race as tonight surely as favourite. Obviously after Canada, we're keeping it in North America and heading off to Canada. We very much look forward to the 2 races we got coming up. And I'm joined, as I said, by Dom Smith. Dom, good evening and welcome to the show.
Hello Mike, good evening everyone. It's the turn North America tonight for the latest round of the championship. A pivotal night as well for the likes of Matt, Corey and Dan to try and get themselves to the level that Softy is currently at. As you said, 5 wins from 6 races, championship leader, in control at the moment, but the racing so far this season has been absolutely thrilling to follow. And tonight, 2 more circuits that promise to have some more brilliant action, so I'm looking forward to it, Mike.
Yeah, as we said, Softy's form so far this year has been absolutely dominant, winning 5 of the 6 races, 83% of the wins going to him at the moment with that race in Bahrain. His only downside so far were perhaps matters out of control coming into their own. You join us with just a smidge over 5 minutes remaining of qualifying, and we'll give you a little rundown of the order that we've got so far. Of provisional pole sitter Matt Tibos on a 129.6, a good lap from the Mercedes driver there with Corey at the moment, just a few hundredths behind, 25 thousandths of a second to be precise. At the moment, we've got the Ferraris on row 2, with an even lesser margin between them, just a thousandth of a second. Dan and Phil continuing their season-long battle. Jack Hickey was in 5th. We were just watching him on a lap there, but he has just dived into the pits with 4.5 minutes to go, getting ready for his final flyer. Jay Luke at the moment in P6 and on that lap. Johners in 7th place. Johners having a great week last week. Results not quite going his way, but certainly race pace-wise, he had some good pace. CJH in 8th place at the moment. Mayor Quimby joining us again, of course. Owen at the moment in P9. And Aidan Griffiths, our only other race winner so far this season at the moment, down in P10. We mentioned him at the top of the show, of course. Softy at the moment languishing down in P12 without a lap time, a proper lap time at least on the board, but Dom just coming around the final couple of corners now. He's looking like he's finally going to push himself up the order.
Yeah, he's left it very late, hasn't he? Just 4 minutes to go in this session. He's pushing it to the close wire. 4 minutes to go. This will be his first respectable lap time. Can he beat the 129.6 of Matt Tibbles? He can't. He goes third. He's a 10th off the pace. That's a good solid run, and he might get one more in if he's quick back to the pits.
Yep, he'll either at this point, I think, perhaps try and save a bit of fuel, a little bit of battery, and try and go for another run, but putting a lot of wear on the tyres. He'd certainly be better off coming back into the pits, as we mentioned. I'm going to cut to Jay Luke now, the Alfa Romeo driver, just heading onto the back straight. Was up on his personal best in Sector 1, and will be hoping to make a little bit of an improvement at the moment on 7th place. Softy obviously pushing him down a little bit after that lap. Jay Luke at the moment not probably having the sort of season he'd expected. Only 13 points on the board, Dom. He's languishing a bit, isn't he? This needs to be a good week for him.
Sorry, Mike, the name cut out there. Who's down in 13th?
It's Jay Luke down in
13th.
He's only got 13 points, sorry, Dom. Only 13 points to his name at the moment. Languishing down in 7th at the moment. He would have expected a bit of a better season so far, wouldn't he?
Yeah, it's not been great. Qualifying's sort of been his Achilles heel so far. He seems to have not qualified in a higher position, and come race day, he's in that midfield battle. Maybe he gets in a spin or something. It's costed him quite a bit, so he needs a good qualifying here. He's about to finish a lap now. Currently P7, as you said at the moment, and he goes quickest with a 129.5.
We said he needed to pull something out of the bag. I don't think any of us were expecting that. Jay Luke with a fantastic lap, which we were able to watch most of it, and it didn't really look like it was going to be anything too special, but he decided to prove us all wrong on that one and put his car at the moment on provisional pole. A bit of a Softy update for you. He's just come around the penultimate corner now. He has dived into the pits, but Dom, I think this is his qualifying done. I think he's going to be no better than 4th, I'll have you know.
Yeah, that's it for Softy. It takes about a minute to go into the pits and leave again, including a few seconds extra for changing the tyres and adjusting the fuel load. So that will be Softy's qualifying done now. There's not enough time to get round and complete another lap, so it's looking very good then for his rivals. Corey and Matt will get another run. Jay Luke will also be finished now, so it is down to the Mercedes and the second Alfa Romeo to see what they can do about that 129.5. Maybe Dan and Phil, the Ferraris, can get in there too.
Yeah, So we've just got a minute and a half to go then. We have got a few drivers on some laps at the moment and on out laps. We've got Corey, who's just starting a lap at the moment. The other Alfa Romeo driver that we've got on the field. He would have been hoping for a bit of a better season than he's had so far. At the moment, he's down in third place in in qualifying as we are at the moment. But Corey will be, I'm sure, hoping to lift himself up the order a little bit, taking as much curve as he dares. He's up by half a tenth in the first sector. It looked a really clean and tidy run through there. So really nailing the apex he has there as he's heading down the hill now towards the tight hairpin. Aiden is going to be no quicker than 10th further back. Onto the back straight then. How is his straight line speed looking? This is where you'll really tell which of the drivers are carrying that little bit more downforce to perhaps assist them in the opening sector. So I just cut to Matt Tibos there because it looked like he'd only just come out the pits, but I think he's got a bit of time in hand to get another run in, but we'll see how he gets on. Corey then down to the end of the straight, coming through the second split now. We'll get a good understanding where he is. He's a couple of thousandths down. It's looking good for Jay Luke at the moment. He's got just under a tenth and a half in hand at the moment, but Corey still with a sector to go. Potentially still time to find.
Yeah, Jay Luke, this would be his first ever pole position in TGP, so if he can hold on, he'll make a bit of history here. He will become, I think, the 70th different driver to take pole position. But what can Corey do? He's got about a tenth to find on his teammate. Will he displace his teammate down a position? Can it be an Alfa Romeo 1-2? It's been a very clean lap so far from Corey. He crosses the line and goes second, just 300ths back from his teammate. And now I think attention's turned to the Ferraris and Matt Tibos.
Yeah, Matt Tibos just starting a lap to see where he goes, but a really good lap there from Corey. Really strong qualifying from the Alfa Romeos. They're joined on the front row together, just a couple of hundredths between them, so a really solid session for them, getting the all the time they can out of the car. You can see the differences there on your left-hand side of the screen. The two Ferraris still separated by barely anything at all. They're both on laps at the moment. There are only of them coming towards an end of a lap. They're both actually on the back straight, as Matt Tibos is just starting the back straight. So we've got a lot of cars in the same part of the track at the moment. Further down the order, we've got Jack Hickey, who's coming around the last couple of corners. He is making some time up on his personal best. He's got a Red Bull, which has got nicely out of the way for him. Qualifying is up. Jay Luke has crossed the pit line, as has Alistair, who goes up to 9th. Where is Jack Hickey going to go? Is this going to be an improvement? It is, and it's up to 5th, and he's pushed the Ferraris down. Talking of them, down the man, next to the line. He was a couple of thousandths up on his personal best. Where's this going to put him? A nice run to the line. He takes all the curb he dares on the exit up to P4. They're coming in thick and fast. The improvements Phil's invalidates his lap time. Disastrous. What about Matt Tibos? He's 4 tenths up. Surely this is going to be pole. He's going to deny Jay Luke a fantastic pole position. Yes, he does, by 2.5 tenths. A commanding pole position in the end then for Matt Tibos, who puts himself in the best position possible for the race start, Dom.
Yeah, fantastic qualifying, wasn't it? Matt Tibos really setting alight his championship hopes. What a lap it was at the end. I think 3 tenths quicker than Alfa Romeo, second and third. A good qualifying for them. Not a good qualifying for Softy. Championship leader down in 5th and a half the pace, so it should be a very interesting race. Softy, as I said, left it very late, did a medium run at the start, which left him with 2 soft runs and unfortunately 1 invalidated. So his best lap in the end, only good enough for P5, but what a session. And Matt Tibos with career pole number 41.
Yep, Matt Tibos then now has the most pole positions this season as well. Hasn't got a race win to his name, but has got 3 poles to his name. So a quick run down the order then with a couple of seconds to go. Matt Tibos fastest and pole position. Jay Luke joining him on the front row for a good qualifying as well. Corey and Dan on row 2 with Softy and Jack Hickman on row 3. Phil Bardrow and Johners row 4, and running out the top 10, Jake Dennis and Alistair Bain. That is Jake Dennis, isn't it? I haven't said that wrong again, have I, Dom?
It's Jake Davis.
Jake Davis. One day
yes.
I will say that right, and one day I will not make that mistake. Jake, I do apologise if you do ever listen back to these after the race. I don't do it intentionally. Maybe I should start doing it intentionally because then I might say it correctly. Dom, we got blue skies. We've got a bit of a mixed up grid, I would argue. We could be in for a good race here, couldn't we?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Softy, one of the tracks he doesn't tend to prefer, and you've seen that in qualifying alone, down in P5. So the championship favourite, a few rows down, and this leaves it wide open, I think, in front. You've got the 2 Ferraris, you've got the 2 Alfa Romeos, and the Mercedes as well. What we don't want is a safety car, because a safety car early on would mean the Ferraris and Alfa Romeos both have to stack up, whereas Softy would not have that problem with his teammate Owen further down the field, looking for his first points of the season. But yeah, this grid is shaped up to be a very interesting race and I'm looking forward to seeing how it unfolds.
Yeah, well, we'll do let us know in the comments, everyone, what your thoughts are going to be as well. But we're almost ready to go then, as we're about to see the few lights come on, and we wait for the big run up the hill and the big braking zone. We have 2, 3, 4, 5 lights in America. And we're underway, and it seemed like a good start from J. Luke, who's already taken the lead on the run down to turn 1. Matt Tibos hasn't really got very well away at all. Softy's trying to look up the inside. Corey diving up the inside as well. They're 3 wide on the entry of turn 1, and thankfully they've all got through safely. Softy has lost a position already. John has had a fantastic start and up into 5th place as we've got a car off a little bit further at the back as they make their way through the snake now, and the left and right turns one after the other, and they can form themselves into a nice orderly queue. But Matt Tibos has had an awful Softy's round. Unbelievable. The championship leader, the man who's only not won one race this season. He doesn't like America. Well, he definitely doesn't like it now. Down in 16th place and last on the road. A bit of contact there with what I presume was Jonas, as Jake Davies has made himself way up to 5th place, getting past the runner there. But absolute disaster for Softy there, Dom.
Yeah, it was a fantastic start from the Alfa Romeos first and second. Matt Tibos is going to come straight back at J, though, trying to gain back the places he lost off the line. John has made a fantastic start, up 3 places into 5th, and then Softy tried to get through the S-band, and it wasn't quite the right place to do it. He tapped the back of John's car some rounds and down to 16th position, not what he needed at the moment outside the points. Also a bad start for Phil, who's dropped 3 places to 10th. And in fact, he's left the session. I think he may have disconnected.
Yep, not very good there for the Ferrari driver. The 2 drivers quite high up in the championship at the moment, Phil and Softy, obviously not having the best of starts, but this is exactly what the front runners need, and this is now a fantastic opportunity for one of them to take a big name scalp. Obviously, as we said, Aidan Griffin's the only other driver to have won a race this year, and he has just left the session as well. So a really good opportunity for someone to get their first win on the board, as Corey has made his way up into 1st place. J. Luke getting all crossed up, obviously, on the run out of the last turn. Matt Tibos is going to try his line into turn 1. He's going to try up the inside, and I think he might have just got that move done. Nice move there into 2nd place.
Yeah, brilliant move from Matt Tibos. He needed to get through. He knows he's the quickest car around this track. I wondered if maybe the Alfa Romeos would sort of work together there and try and back each other. J. Luke would back up Matt Tibos and let him go ahead at front, but Matt Tibos crucially getting through straight away at the earliest opportunity, and now we can start to hunt down Corey. Meanwhile, I think JD is also now right on the back of Jonas, so he's joined this scrap from 3rd downwards.
Yep. JD is really giving Jonas a run for his money at the moment. Jonas, as you said, with that fantastic start, up 3 places. The same with Jacob Corso as well. Maybe getting a little bit fortunate thanks to Phil and Softy's demise, but they still have to be at the right position at the right time. Aidan has now made his way back into the session, so we'll be hoping to make up a bit of ground. I've got an awful camera angle for JD at the moment, as I'm trying to watch him put a bit of pressure on Jonas. But further ahead, talking of pressure, Dan the Man is fancying a sniff of the podium opportunity.
Yeah, it's looking good for Dan, isn't it? He's really come alive this season. 3 podiums to his name already. Can he clear the Alfa Romeo J. Luke? J. Luke set a brilliant qualifying. I don't think any of us expected that pace from him. As Softy wiggling his way around, trying to get through on the traffic. He's got his teammate Owen just a couple of places ahead. I'm sure he won't make it too difficult for him. But Jordan proved last season in TGP2 he is a real one to watch in these races. He's really good on race pace, comes alive in the races, and at the moment he's keeping Softy behind on the medium tyres.
Yeah, the problem Softy's
and Jonas has left
now.
The session. They're all disconnected.
Disastrous for the Renault driver. He was up as high as 6th place, 5th at one point as well, and he's now going to come tumbling down the order. Meanwhile, Softy has got the bit between his teeth and fancies a run at the former TGP2 driver Jordan, and he's gaining quite a bit on Owen as well there. So as you said, Owen, I'm sure won't make it very difficult for his teammate, but certainly at the moment, Softy has dispatched another driver as he works his way back up the order. But I was just about to say before all that kicked off, we had Coet come into the pits as well there. This group of cars are all quite bunched up together, and this could be a little bit tricky and very time consuming for Softy at the moment, which is not really what he needs. He finds himself already 11 seconds off of the leading drivers. As Jack Hickey picks up a penalty from P6 as Softy sent one down the inside of Owen, and Owen, rightly so, didn't make it too difficult for his teammate as Jonas is back and just in time to catch himself ahead of Softy. Softy with the DRS though might have a run on Jonas here, so Jonas needs to watch out for that. Unless he's going to try and move. He doesn't now. No, he sits behind him for the time being at least. But Corey doing well to manage the gap at the moment, you have to say, Dom. He's got a couple of seconds, nearly 2 seconds advantage there, so that's good for Corey.
Yeah, I wonder if Matt's maybe saving their tyres, maybe thinking of something different on strategy or just saving the ears for now. I think Softy might pull into the pits this time round. If all the cars in front stay out, he might try something different. He has got traffic, so maybe he'll come in like Court did as Corey picks up a 3-second time penalty. The last thing he needed in this race, because now Matt Tibbles knows he can just cruise to the finish and stay in front. But Softy does stay out, so he's not pitting just yet. Maybe it's just a bit too early for the medium tyres.
Yeah, I think unfortunately Corey picked that up on the pit lane entry. Very difficult entry here. You need to make sure you don't hit that inside curve area you've got, as we've now riding on board with the reigning TGP2 champion Alistair Bain all over the back of Jack Hickey, as Softy makes up another position further back on Johners, as one Renault is going back down the order. Another Renault is trying to find his way up it.
Yeah, Alistair Bain, the reigning TGP2 champion, came alive last week in the first in TGP1, looking to get a P5 here from Jack Hickey. A net P6, of course, because Corey has already made his pit stop. He's now in clean air, 6 seconds back from Jordan, so he can set the laps he needs to try and pull the gap on Matt Tibbles. Matt Tibbles should surely come in and react this time round. He will also come out in clean air, but Alistair Bain will have a glorious chance now to get through.
He will, but as will Dan Dom, a little bit further ahead on the road. Dan with the DRS and the ERS on. Is he going to try and move on J. Luke into the hairpin? Thinks better of it perhaps this time. Further back then, we've got the Renault in the Racing Point weaving all over the track as Alistair desperately tries to get his car under control, but he's side by side with Jack Hickey at the moment, and he's trying to go the long way round, is he? He's going to try and pull it off, but this will lead to the inside of the next corner. Alistair fancies his chances, fancies 5th place. They got a little bit close to contact there, but for the moment at least, Jack Hickey has held on.
Yeah, good defending there from Jack Hickey. Alistair Bain not quite getting through. We've got Softy now right on the back of CJH. CJH has been passed by Paul. Paul's up 9 places into P7. It's been some start for him. Will Softy this time come into the pits? No, he chooses to stay out. He's going to stick with this traffic despite set of 3's got a yellow flag. I'm not sure what that is. I think Aidan may have left the session again. But Softy, this turn 1 for him has been a great opportunity to pass cars, but I think CJ's a bit too far ahead to pass the McLaren to turn 1 this time.
Oh, and CJH thought about it. He made a bit of a dummy on Paul McGuinness, the Scotsman there, but thought better of it. But that leaves him open to attack from Softy. He has to leave him space on the inside. In the end, he has to concede 6th place. Softy takes another scalp.
Yeah, Softy working his way nicely through the field, back up to the top 6 now, just 1 place back from where he started. Paul McGee, the most capped driver in TGP1 history now, the car in front of him. Matt Tibbles did pit and did come out ahead of Corey, and there's just 4 tenths between them now in 11th and 10th.
Yeah, Corey has got the warmth through his tyres. He put on the hard tyres, amazingly. So it clearly doesn't think that the mediums are getting to the end. And interestingly, someone else who's put on the hard tyres is, of course, our net race leader, Matt Tibbles. Oh, has he? It says on my screen here that he's gone onto the...
He's on the mediums.
He is on the medium. So we do have a split in strategy. Actually, which is going to be interesting to see. Corey's it's going to take him a little bit longer to get those tyres up to temperature, but perhaps we'll have better life towards the end of the race, you have to say. Meanwhile, further back, Phil Bargewell, his race isn't going very well. He currently finds himself ahead of Jay Luke, who of course has pitted as well, and has gone on to himself the medium tyre. So at the moment, Corey, our only runner on the hard tyres, clearly not thinking that he's going to be able to see it through to the end on the mediums, as Dan the Man now comes into the pits, as does Softy, as does Jake, as Alistair come into the pits as well. No, he hasn't. He stays out to keep putting pressure on Jack Hickman, as Aidan Griffins unfortunately has left again. I'm sure Alistair will be very pleased at the moment that in the house up in Inverness, the internet problems are only suffering for one of them.
Yeah, it's funny how they can be in the exact same house, but one's absolutely fine and one isn't. So obviously Alistair's hogging up all the internet his end. He does for now stay out. He does for now fight Jack Hickey. These two still so close. Half a second between them. Jordan right on the back of 0-2.
Oh, but look at Jay, Luke and Dan. They're about to go side by side into the S's. We've got a fantastic aerial camera here, and Dan just about holds on. I really thought Jay Luke was going to try his own there. Sorry to cut in there, Dom, but fantastic action throughout the field at the moment, as Dan the Man just manages to hold on from Jay Luke. These two obviously pitted at the same time, and Jay Luke giving Dan a little bit of a headache.
No, a good spot, as has been throughout this season. There's so many battles at the same time, it's hard to pick one, but Dan the Man crucially keeping ahead of Jay Luke, ahead of the Alfa Romeo driver. Jay's going to have a glorious chance now though with DRS and a little bit extra ERS to fight back on Dan.
Yep, Jay Luke, he's in the DRS. He not using his not using the overtake button. A little bit more energy at the moment than Dan. He's going to try and go the long way round, but this is going to give him the cutback. It's a bit of a tricky corner that this next one to make a move in, but he's going to think about it round the outside. Maybe going to give himself the upper hand into the stadium. Dan parks it on the apex nicely, and there's no way past for Jay Luke there for the moment.
I wonder if Softy could still pinch a podium from this, despite his opening lap spin. He's already at the ball, obviously, at the moment, but there's still lots of cars to pit, and he's not too far back from these two who are fighting for the final podium spot. And of course, Corey, ahead of these, has a time penalty too, as the front runners, Jack, Alistair, all dive into the pit lane.
I don't know if Phil's come back, but he's staying out as Jay Luke unfortunately picks up a penalty for him. Maybe just trying to get these softs to last as long as possible to give him the best opportunity towards the end of the race. As you rightfully said there, Jack Hickey and Alistair Bain leaving the pits as they were. And where's Softy going to be in relation to this? He's climbing up the hill, and at the moment he is behind these two, which would put him, I reckon, Dom, at the moment at least, around a net P7.
Yeah, but of course, Jay Luke, Corey, Jack and Alistair, all with time penalties, so Softy's just got to stay within a certain time of these drivers, and you expect Softy to, work his way through the field now and pick off these drivers. Alistair will want to keep Softy for as far back as he can, but yeah, this is really interesting stuff. Crucial laps coming up for the drivers.
Yep, Softy, unfortunately not with a tyre advantage of the two in front of him. He's got good battery life left though, so maybe we'll fancy a bit of his chances. Phil Bardwell, as we said, eking out that stint as long as he can, but staying within good distance of Corey. Those hards really aren't working well for Corey. He's fallen back nearly 3 seconds behind Matt Tibos now, so Matt almost at a point where if Corey didn't have a penalty, he would be safe anyway. Obviously as we get further through the race, penalties will become more important. Meanwhile, Alistair still trying to put pressure on Jack Hickman, but it's just not quite going his way at the moment. Jack Hickman's brother, of course, at the moment, Sam, taking part in TGP2 and having a very good time of it at the moment in his opening season. Jack doesn't seem to quite have the same sort of fan club as his brother does, but I'm sure that won't bother him for the moment at least.
The Alfa Romeo and Red Bull of Jay Luke and JD are all over the back of Dan the Man. Dan the Man, which we saw in Japan, doesn't seem to suit the medium tyres. He's fine on the softs, but as soon as he goes to the mediums, suddenly he then finds himself in a more difficult position. Jay Luke and JD were right on him just moments ago. Dan has managed to breathe in space now, but JD is another one who has just picked up the time penalty, which is good news for behind.
Yep. Softy now has got everyone up until the point of Dan with a penalty in front of him. So you're right, if Dan picks up a penalty himself, he could very well be in the clutches of Softy if he gets past Jack Hickey and Alistair, as I think he'll fancy his chance of closing that gap in very quickly if he's able to clear that little roadblock he's got in front of him at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that, of course, as we go on. Meanwhile, the battle for fifth really hotting up. Fifth on the road, of course, but with two drivers in front of these guys who haven't pitted yet. Our race leader currently, Jordan. We haven't really spoken about him much today. Well, he's got his little moment in the sun at the moment. He's keeping Matt Tibos behind him, but probably trying not to lose too much time. As we look a bit further back now, Dan having to cover off as best he can Jay Luke, who's got Dan already into the braking zone. Dan's still got his nose there. Watch out, these two, but really on the outside by Jay Luke as my microphone falls out of its slot.
And Softy has passed Alistair for P9, so he's gained that place crucially. Alistair tried to fight back, but Softy was wise. He kept the inside, and now just right behind Jack Hickey, which is PA. We've still got Jordan and Phil Bartle to make their pit stops. They should come in very shortly, I suspect, for their new sets of tyres. But Matt Tibos is looking very good for this race win, as Jordan does now choose to pit.
Yep, and this battle for a net P3 does still continue. Dan, of course, in a good position at the moment without having any penalties, but not in a good position in terms of his pace. JD is sticking with these guys very well at the moment, as Softy is trying to pressure Jack Hickey. Alistair couldn't pressure him enough to get past. Softy will fancy his chances, but at the moment he's not going his way. As Phil Barger is still out there on the soft tyres. I still don't know if he's even in this race, but if his AI is still doing it, then his AI is doing a great job. Surely not, because the pace is too good. But Phil trying his best to maybe even take these tyres as long as he can, but he's not going to put on another set of softs, you wouldn't have thought. So an interesting strategy there from the Ferrari driver, maybe waiting to see if there's a safety car.
Yeah, so Matt Tibos under control at the moment. He leads by 4 seconds. Phil Bardwell sticking with Corey despite
he's closing in on him, actually.
He is, isn't he? What's this about? Phil Bardwell might even go for an overtake here. I think we're about to see a possible overtake behind from JD on Dan the Man, who is now behind the Alfa Romeo of Jay Luke.
Yep, so battles all through the field. We're not quite sure which ones to follow, but JD at the moment sticks line astern with Dan. These three staying within each other. Further behind, Softy has now cleared the racing point of Jack Hickman and can set his sights now on trying to secure a podium place if he can, but needs to keep his nose clean. He doesn't want to be picking up any penalties which would cost him that time at the end of the race. Meanwhile, Phil Bardwell's pace is still fantastic. Thanks to these guys behind battling, he's kept a good gap to them behind, and he's he's getting even closer to Corey at the moment. He's got fantastic battery life. Phil Bardwell will be gutted that he left on the opening lap because he's had some great pace.
How has he got these soft 10 laps? I'm struggling to work out how he's done this. He's setting pace that is similar to to those at the front. So great job from Phil Bardwell, really coming alive so far tonight. He still sticks out. Maybe he'll go to the end of this rate. But Kurt, who pitted early on, unfortunately for him, is at the back of the grid, so it's not worked out for him for one reason or another. Softy crucially ahead of Jack Hickey now, and JD needs to clear down the man if he wants to have a chance of a podium himself, because of course time penalty, as does J. Luke in fourth. Down the man though, sticking with the Alfa Romeo driver.
Yeah, we've got sort of two groups of battles of three at the moment. Softy hasn't quite been able to shake off Jack Hickman or Alistair yet, and so still could be under threat from DRS at the moment behind, so he needs to keep an eye on that, but it's sort of getting to the high end and nearing a second now for Softy, which will be grateful for him. Meanwhile, the flap is open on Down the Man's car. He's got the DRS obviously wide open, hasn't been able to use any of his overtake, and just can't get close enough to J. Luke. J. Luke doing just about enough to keep him behind as things stand.
And Phil had briefly got ahead of Corey for P2. He overtook him into the braking zone, but Corey got his braking spot on and got him back on the next corner. So Phil Bardwell really harassing Corey for that position as JD, as you said, continues to fight with Down the Man. This has allowed Softy to close in behind, and Softy would gain all these places through the time penalties. Yeah,
Down the Man had a little mistake there coming out of the last of the stadium corners, and that's put JD all over the back as Phil Bardwell now has unfortunately picked up a penalty, which is not good for him, as he does finally come into the pits as well there. So as you said, 10 laps on those soft tyres, including a qualifying lap as well. Really, really impressive stuff there from Phil. Just hoping for that safety car of the VSC, which unfortunately for him just didn't happen. Meanwhile, Down the Man not close enough to strike on J. Luke thanks to that mistake, and that's put JD all over the back of him, and Softy now just 2 seconds behind these two, and really starting to haul himself into this battle for the podium places. As Down the Man, we're watching him now through the S's section, a really glorious part of the track, as it now starts to open up and we rise up the hill again. Tricky left-hander here, plants the power now towards the hairpin. He's staying within a second, so we're still going to keep the DRS on J. Luke at the moment, but just doesn't seem to have that pace to get through. He doesn't need to overtake him, of course, at the moment, but nonetheless, I think he'd want to clear him, Dom, just for that safety net to Softy.
Yeah, I think you're right, and Softy needs to be smart here. He needs to just, he will catch up with the guys in front with them battling. It's just going to happen. Softy doesn't need to push the limits as much as we see the McLaren of CJH down in 10th place, looking to get ahead of the Renault. Jonas would gain a couple of positions himself from Alistair and Jack Hickey towards the end if he can just stick within 3 seconds. But CJH is catching him and looking like he might even put a move on. But yeah, as you said, it's going to be really close between J. Luke, Dan, JD and Softy towards the end of the race. Softy needs to be smart here, be patient, take his time. There's still laps to go as Matt Tibble starts the third to last lap. Softy could still pinch a podium here. I think it could be anyone's.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think Corey's probably starting to realise now that maybe the hard tyres weren't the right call. J. Luke, interestingly, has now got himself out of DRS range of Dan. Dan was still within the 1 second mark at the detection zone. But Softy, you're right, he's gained about a second on these guys in the last lap. And they haven't been battling. Softy's just had a bit of clear air to put his foot down. And he's bringing Jack Hickman and Alistair with him.
It's amazing to think that this would be Matt Tilbury's first win of the season, the reigning champion, two-time champion. I don't want to jinx it because a lot of people are leaving the session. Jordan has now unfortunately left. He is currently 12th, so outside the points anyway, but this would be Matt's first win of the season. But the pace from Softy is pretty impressive, isn't it? He's just catching up to these guys like nothing. Yep. Suddenly, he's now less than a second behind JD. Yeah, within
DRS range now, so Softy will have that benefit coming down the main straight. This gaggle that was 3 is now 4 as Owen picks up a penalty further back. But they're bringing Hickman and Alistair into this. Hickman just over a second off Softy, would nearly have DRS himself. Dan once again on the DRS. He just hasn't been able to save up enough battery in the rest of the lap, interestingly, Dom. J. Luke similarly is running quite low. Softy's got saying that, Jack Hickman has got the best battery situation out of all of these, so it could still come Jack Hickman's way. Obviously he's got that 3 second penalty counting against him, but I'm sure Dan at the moment is getting quite worried about the approaching AlphaTauri.
Yeah, I think he is. Still 2 laps to go. Jack Hickey, with all that extra bit of ERS, surely is safe from Alistair behind. He can use it wisely on the straights, make sure he's far enough ahead that even without DRS, if he can't get it from Softy, he should still be enough from his ERS battery life to stay ahead of the Renault driver. Keep an eye on that. But yeah, 2 laps to go here. Matt Tibbles 5.5 seconds clear. The 2 Alfa Romeos second and third. As things stand, Corey should be safe in second, of course.
Oh, Dan's got a bit wide, turn one there, Dom.
Corey.
He's lost a bit of time. Wasn't as big a lock-up as I thought it was going to be, actually, so apologies for cutting into you there. Another person to keep an eye on, of course, Phil Bargewell in his battle to get some points out of this. Obviously, on fresh tyres, will be hoping to potentially claim a couple of scouts behind him. I was saying that Jack Hickey was getting involved in this a bit. He's now dropped back a little bit, unfortunately, from this battle for him, but not over yet. Still a way to go as Court sets the fastest lap of the race, but at the moment won't get a point for that due to his position on the road.
But of course what it does do is it means no one else can get that point, so no one will score the point if Court has that fastest lap. So that takes crucial points away from potentially Matt, Corey, Softy, whoever finds himself in the championship fight. Is Dan the man far enough ahead of the Rebel? Looks like he is to stay clear for now. Softy still a bit too far back, so maybe he himself is just, the tyres have gone on him maybe.
Yeah, perhaps starting to fade a little bit as we can see quite a long train now of cars behind J. Luke. They're all sort of wiggling their way through the stadium section. This battle, I guess you could call it, goes all the way from third down to Johners in P10. I don't know if J. Luke was perhaps just acting as a bit of a rear gunner to Corey in these latter stages. Corey obviously making the trip onto the hard tyres and hasn't really had the pace to be able to pull away from this, and perhaps as we said, acting a bit of a rear gunner. Corey 5.5 seconds off the current race leader Matt Tibos, who starts his final tour of Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, it's been a great race for him, hasn't it? But look at this pack down from third downwards. J. Luke, Dan, JD, Soft, even Jack Hickey and Alistair starting to join this fight. Alistair also has, of course, the McLaren and the Renault behind him, so still lots to play for on this final lap. The podium could go anyway. All these drivers could even pinch second from Corey if Corey's not far enough ahead. So yeah, this is going to be a tense final lap. Is Softy close enough to make a move on JD? Does he need to make the move on the Rebel driver?
He doesn't, but he'll want to finish as high up as he can as Phil picks up another penalty further back. Less relevant at the moment. Be interesting to watch out for people like Corey and such like as well, just in case they don't pick up anything. Let's give a quick update on penalties at the moment. So the maximum anyone's got really in this fight is 3 seconds. Further back, CJH is going to lose a couple of positions thanks to his 6-second infringement, as Dan the man getting close but not close enough, and no one further back is in a position to make a move either. So it might be as they were through the final few corners. Speaking of which, we're going to have to cut to our race leader. We haven't been able to talk about him much since the opening couple of laps. He's barely put a foot wrong apart from his start. That was the only thing that let him down, but he won't care about that. It's still going to be pole position and race win for the Mercedes driver. As Dom said, his first of the season. He'll be a bit surprised by that, but better late than never. Matt Tibos crosses the line to win at America. Corey is going to come home in second after making a questionable tyre choice, you have to say, but he will come home in second at least. J. Luke on the road finishes third, but Dan the man will claim that podium place. And what a fantastic recovery drive it was by our championship leader Softy, back up into fourth place when he was last on the opening lap, Dom.
Yeah, good recovery from Soft. I think he'll be happy with P4 after what happened in that race. To get back and get those 12 points is just what he needed. But what a race that was. Matt Tibos with his 39th career race victory, putting him 6th now outright on the all-time leaderboard. So fantastic hit for him. He's only won 2 of the first 12 races last season, and of course went on to win the championship. He's got his first win now in the 4th week. So that's the perfect start he needed, and now he can start chasing down the AlphaTauri of Softy.
Yeah, that was a suitably entertaining race. Perhaps didn't quite live up to as much hype as it could have done, but we still had some great battles as Paul McGee even, picks up the Driver of the Day award, and Matt does his a nice dance on the podium. I'm not quite sure what the trophy giver, I can never remember his name, knew quite what to think about that one. But it was a good spectator sport, shall we say. He covers James Allison in Champagne. Corey covers him in Champagne. They're all having a good time. I still can't really get over that dance.
That is the best dance I've ever seen on the podium. Matt Tibos deserves the win just for that. I hope he's been saving that since the first week. We've had to wait 3 weeks for that to happen. But Matt Tibos, what a dominating drive that was. Probably one of the best wins I think I've ever seen from Matt Tibos. It really was an excellent drive, mastering every lap. It never really looked in doubt, apart from, of course, the first lap when he dropped down to third, but he came so quickly back into it. He passed Corey soon after around the pit stop phases and takes a crucial win. Only his first of the season. but what a way to do it. What a statement to set for the rest of the field.
Yeah, really good performance there from Matt. As you said, barely put a foot wrong apart from his start, but he got back ahead of the pit stops and then never looked back. So your confirmed order then for the United States Grand Prix, Matt Tibos finally taking that first win of the season from pole position, of course. Corey in second. He'll be a bit disappointed with that, I think, after leading at the end of lap 1, with Dan the Man rounding out the podium for another podium in what is a very successful season so far for him. Softy, a good recovery drive in 4th, with J. Luke in 5th. Might be a bit disappointed with that. JD in 6th. Jack Hickey in 7th. Perhaps would have expected a little bit better given his performance and pace. Jono's in P8. Shame for him after disconnecting. Alistair in P9. And Paul McGuinness rounding out the point scorers with the 2 Scots coming in there. So Dom, we then move slightly further north. It's going to be a bit colder, hopefully just as nice weather. But to Canada, a completely different challenge for the drivers here, almost sort of street circuit like. What are we sort of expecting? What are we thinking could differ from our other trip in North America here?
So Canada's a track that Softy doesn't particularly like either. So it's a potential.
Didn't you say that about America as well? And didn't he just sort of come back from last to 4th?
He did, but he wasn't anywhere near the pace of Matt Tibos at the front. So, I think Matt Tibos has a real chance again to potentially win another race, and that really would start to make Softy think about if this championship really is going to be all his way. But yeah, fantastic race for man. Canada, I mean, it's wide open, isn't it? The chances of safety car are pretty high. The chances of rain are pretty high. So I think it's wide open. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this one develops.
Yeah, I think we should be in for an exciting race in Canada. We're not racing at China, despite what the screen says to you at the moment, so I wouldn't worry about it. That isn't something that we've got horribly wrong. We're just waiting for the settings to change, of course. So yeah, an interesting race at America. I think it was set up really nicely there. We had those drivers so close to each other in the final few laps. That it just sort of didn't really work out. I've just been informed, actually, I'm sure you've just seen as well, Don, but we're actually going to have a new lobby made, so we'll wait to join that one. So do bear with us while we're in this little lull. Oh, you've just sent me an invite. That's probably what that meant then.
Yeah, so there seems to be a thing with this game, unfortunately, where if the host disconnects at all, for some reason the lobby settings then all get muddled up, and unfortunately the game gets confused, and it picks a random track, and no matter how many times you try to change the track to the track you want, it'll give you a completely random track. Canada's just one of, 24, 25 circuits on this game, because it obviously includes the short layouts. So, 1 in 25 chance, you might as well just go make a new lobby, come back, new settings, feel safer, and hopefully that sorts out any lag issues that we had in the first race. Hopefully all is resolved now.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so, Dom. Let's hope this all comes together nicely so we can enjoy some good racing, which is what we saw last time out as well. So some big talking points then coming into to Canada. Well, obviously we've had plenty of pole sitters so far this year, Dom. With obviously Matt taking the so far at least the majority. But then when it comes to race day, Softy just normally, obviously wasn't able to in America, pull out the stops and come in with a win. So what do the drivers need to do to change that? What do they need to do to turn that strong qualifying into a solid race result?
Well, I think, as you say, as we've seen from qualifying, Softy hasn't been the quickest driver. It's just on race day, he's been a bit more consistent. He's been a bit more wise and even a bit more lucky, to be fair. A lot of the times, Matt Tibos, J. Luke, Corey, Dan have found themselves in incidents or battles they don't need to be in. Maybe they're disconnected. Matt Tibos, of course, had that disastrous night 2 weeks ago where he kept disconnecting from the session, even though he was on pole position for the race in Brazil. So it's just a bit of luck has gone towards Softy in the opening weeks of the season. And now that the drivers are starting to get away from that sort of bad luck spree, I think we're seeing them now finally showing Softy what they can do. And Softy only 4th place, of course, in the last race. I think that's the first time since Bahrain he's not been on the podium. So hopefully now we can start to see these drivers edge a bit closer to Softy, because we've seen in qualifying, as you said, Softy isn't the quickest driver. So these guys are a pace similar to or better than the AlphaTauri driver. So we're off to Canada then for the second race of the night. The United States has gone. This is Canada. This is round 8 of the championship, and Softy's gap has come down ever so slightly. Dan the Man finishing 3 points clear of him. So as Dan was the closest rival to Softy, the gap has come down from 49 to 46.
Oh, it's just so close now, Dom. I think Softy's going to be really worried now for the rest of the season. Now that gap has come down by 3 points. It's going to make. I think it's going to change completely the way he approaches this Canadian race. But you're right, there is still a long way to go. We can't be too cynical about it. But nonetheless, we've seen it happen a couple of times. Obviously in Bahrain as well, Softy's luck didn't go his way. So if we're saying that. Twice in every 7 races, this bad luck's not going to go his way, then maybe we'll have a couple more glimmers of hope during this season, perhaps. We'll see how we get on. Interestingly, we're hearing from some of the drivers after the race we've just had. Dan the Man saying that tyre wear was particularly difficult in that second half of the race. Tyres were terrible, just tried to stay within 3 seconds of J. Luke. That's how they were all struggling out there on those medium tyres. Corey obviously didn't see struggling, being on those hards. But it just didn't really give him any advantage in the end, did it, Dom? I mean, he was able to keep that gap to his teammate behind, but it just didn't really give him anything back, did it?
No, I don't think it did. Sorry, Mike, I was just replying to a few messages there. But the timer, really dropped off towards the end of the race.
Dom, leave your fan mail alone, all right? We're doing a stream here.
Sorry, Mike.
Unbelievable. You just can't get the staff these days. If you want to apply to be a co-commentator, then do please write to us at domsmithincompetent at gmail.com. And we would love to see all of your applications. That would be really nice.
Apologies, Mike.
Dom, what was the interesting thing there? Was that you were about to say something quite very interesting, I'm sure.
Oh no, I was just obviously being the sort of the, what do you say, the boss of the league. You get a few messages. So people just checking, if things were okay. So Corey was checking if one move he made was fine. Yes, it was. Fantastic stuff. Jonas is asking for clarification on something. Yes, it is. Jonas, tickety boo. Jordan's restarted his PS4. Just various messages that you tend to get.
Yeah, no,
all good though. All good.
All sounds good from the drivers. Just making sure that everything is good coming in. Obviously, Dom Smith, provider of the Juicy Goss. Everyone watch out for Dom leaks, of course. Jordan, we've had to get in touch with us as well. Jordan obviously was in the race, saying that he was doing well up until his disconnection. Obviously, we did see him leading at one point, Dom, keeping Matt at bay. Perhaps Matt sticking behind, knowing that wasn't his race to run. But nonetheless, Jordan popping up again. He picked up a podium, obviously, earlier on in the season, but been a little bit anonymous aside from that since his move up from TGP2. He's got the pace over one lap. He seems very good in the race, but just perhaps doesn't quite come together for him too often.
No, it hasn't, Don. It's been a really up and down season for him so far as we go into qualifying for... I wasn't listening again, Mike. I'm just trying to guess what you said.
Again, if anyone would like to be a co-commentator, then do please email us at Dom really doesn't know what he's doing at hotmail.co.uk.
I tried my best to get away with that. I'm not quite sure. What did you say in the end? Was
no, it's clearly not important, so I wouldn't worry about it. Let's just focus on the qualifying show. It's a glorious day in Montreal, and we can all look forward to some nice racing. Hopefully, Dom will be paying attention throughout qualifying in the race. I can't promise anything, but we'd like to hope that he is there.
Yes, I am listening this time, Mike. I do promise. We're all good. Qualifying has begun at Canada. Clear skies, no rain expected in this session. Will there be rain in the race? We'll find out from our drivers very shortly. Waze has joined us for this session. He'll be hoping to get his first points of the season. Owen didn't quite get a points finish in the end in the last race. P12 it was. He just missed out. Paul picking up places through time penalties at the end, snatched the final point. And Court did stick with the fastest lap, so no one scores the point for that from America.
Thank you, Dom, for that good overview. So, where do we go? Where do we start? We've got nearly 17 minutes left of qualifying. We've got the cars just starting to trickle out on to the track. We've had Waste join us for this race. Hi, Waste. So we've got 2 Hasses on track. Unfortunately, not 2 Hasses for their home race, but it's better than nothing, I guess. So we are we've got half the field out on the track at the moment, preparing for their laps. Dom, as we said here, a tricky circuit to get right. Feels like a street circuit. It effectively is a street circuit. The walls are close, no room for error, and a lot of chicanes and a lot of high speed as well. It's got pretty much everything here, isn't it?
It has. I really do like this circuit. One of my favourites on the calendar, but it's so hard to hook it up right for a lap. It is such a short lap, but as you said, so many tricky points around the track, like street circuit. But if you put a foot wrong, you can very easily find yourself in the wall or going across the grass, invalidating your lap. And most crucially, the final chicane on this track is very important to get right. You need to get such a good exit to get the run to the line and try and take the fastest lap you can. But it's so easy to cut that corner. We've seen in the past, drivers have been up by 2 or 3 tenths on their rivals, only to invalidate at the final corner. It's all for nothing. They start further down the field. So it's so hard to hook it up. But it's going to be really interesting to see how the likes of Matt...
Corey's out!
Yes, Corey is out. He is serving a qualifying ban. So he is not... that's for an incident last week, I believe, with Softy at Italy. So he will not be qualifying here in this session. And it's going to be between Matt Tibbos, Softy, Dan, Phil and J-Luke, I suspect, then, in this qualifying session.
Well, I'll have to have words with whoever provides me with my commentary notes. As that got me all excited for absolutely no reason. I thought we'd had our first casualty of the close walls that we've got here, but nonetheless, we've got still surely some more excitement to come than me just getting excited for nothing. I'm on board with Waste at the moment as Softy sets the first representative lap time of a 1:09.9. We're expecting times to be about probably a second and a half quicker than that in the end. So watch the times rapidly come down. Still following Wace here, who's hopefully going to finish off his lap, coming through the last chicane at the moment, and the short run to the line. He keeps it within the white lines. It's not going to be anything that worries Softy at the moment, but he puts himself up into 4th place, and Court goes even faster. Blimey, look at that, 1:09.1, putting himself in the running there for, hopefully, for him at least, a top spot. As I got that completely wrong, Softy set a 1:08.9, which is a very good lap time. As Jack Hickey now goes fastest on a 1:08.6, the lap time starting to tumble.
Yeah, I think, of course, TGP2 tomorrow, so join us for that. The first lap's coming in now. These are times we sort of expect to see for TGP2 tomorrow for that qualifying session. 1:08.6 is probably the best we're going to see. But for these drivers, this is their first laps, and much more is to come. Softy for now on the medium tyres. We've got drivers completing their final first runs of the session. Matt Tibbos at the moment is down a P10, yet to set the lap. He hooks up the final chicane very nicely. Needs to get a banker in his first lap of the session. Is it going to be enough to go? Provisional pole with 30 minutes to go. It is by about a tenth. Displaces Jack Hickey down to second, but of course still a long way to go, Mike. Yeah.
So 1:08.5. Good run there for Matt, but he'll surely have a bit more in the tank, you would have thought. Who else have we got on laps at the moment? Owen Quimby's just coming through the middle sector, coming towards the hairpin now. Hasn't put a lap on the board yet, so it'll be interesting to see where he comes, the other AlphaTauri driver, whose teammate, you have to say, completely outclassing him at the moment, but it's kind of as you'd expect. Owen, of course, not able to commit to a full season. Another TGP2 promotee, along with the likes of Jordan Kamababo, who isn't here with us tonight, and Alistair. Owen then in through the last chicane, keeps his lap together, and takes now the shortest distant run to the line. Where's this lap time going to put him up in P8? So a solid first lap time there from Owen on a 1:09.9.
Good lap there. We've still got a few drivers left to finish their first laps. Dan the man only just now on an outlap, as is Paul and JD. So the shooting, giving it a bit of time before first run in this session, but it is currently Matt Tibbos from Jack Hickey and 3 in Court. Will be very happy to be P4 for now. Of course, we expect times to tumble, but that's a good place to the first set of runs. Great lap from Court. Likes this as challenging circuit does our resident Dutch driver. And he'll be pleased at the moment with P4. We're going to follow JD then on his first flying lap on the soft tyres. The Red Bull driver, solid race for him last time out, finishing in P6 or 7, one or the other. He did all right, and he kept his nose relatively clean, only picking up the one penalty which dropped him down a little bit, but he'll be hoping for a similarly good result tonight. In tonight's second race into this really tricky chicane there, slightly off camber. You've got to be really careful putting the power down. He's got an awful amount of understeer there, you have to say. This lap time at the moment already falling away from him, Dom, and we're only a third of the way through. Yeah, it's not been the cleanest start, has it, for his run? There still has plenty of time to get more runs in, but it's not looking great so far, Mike.
Yep, as he comes to the hairpin, then he's slightly up on where Owen was, so using that as a marker. He's about 4 tenths up on where Owen was at this point, so I'm sure he'll be hoping at the moment for a position around P7, I would have thought. As we're pleased to say, Aiden has been able to get back to us after the connection issues he had, as Dan the Man pops up in P2. A great lap time from the Ferrari driver, mixing up there as Jake pulls up into the pits, proving to me that I was following the wrong lap. Paul McGuinness, meanwhile, has invalidated his lap time, so we're waiting for now some of the drivers to come round the pits again. Phil Bargewell down in 11th place at the moment, Dom. That's not very good for him. I think he's just starting another run now.
I think you're right. He does look to be on a quick lap. There was a lot of promise from Phil going into tonight. He has just now changed from medium TC to no TC. Of course, it takes a bit of time to get some confidence for that change, but Phil seems to have found that very quickly, running no TC to the first time, which might explain maybe his issues in America. But to be fair, his pace was very quick. We saw him really pressuring Corey towards the end of the race on very old soft tyres. So that's the sign of things to come for Phil. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Phil can do in the second half of this season. And Phil, it looks like, is on a better lap than his previous one. We're about to see at the second split that he's 8 tenths up on his previous best. The Softy goes quickest with a 107.9. That's a new benchmark.
Wow, what a gauntlet that is. Take that, everyone else. Blimey, only his second run and he's into the 1 minute 7s. Softy really on song at the moment. Phil coming down the main straight at the moment. He's got Matt Tibbos moving out of his way into the chicane, then hard on the brakes, flick it in. Don't take too much of the chicane. You'll get a penalty again, Phil. We all know what happened a couple of years ago. Across the line then, Phil Bargerow goes into P6, still behind his teammate, but a lot closer than he was before.
Gone to P6, not quite quicker than his teammate Dan the Man, who is currently 4th place. Johns will be very happy to be 3rd at the moment. A shock pole position, caught us all out last week at Italy. Can he do something similar here at Canada? Jonas' pace is very, one moment the next he's a bit further back. He's very inconsistent, Jonas, but it's always good to see him back at the front. Jonas,
Matt Tibbos going purple in sector 1 though, Dom. He's not done yet. 9.5 minutes to go, and Matt Tibbos fancies a run at Softy's 1 minute 7. Can he himself dip into the 1 minute 7s then through underneath the bridge? He takes a lot of curb. This is a really committed lap from last time's race winner. He's got the bit between his teeth. He wants this. Through the middle sector, he's purple again. Dom, it's his all to play for in the last sector.
Yeah, he's got 6 tenths to find. He wants to display Softy from that provisional pole position. It's looking good for Matt, but is it going to be good enough? He's 2 tenths up on his previous best. He didn't have the best final on his last run, so there is the hope that he can get the next 4 tenths. Final again. He's got to be so careful not to cut it and invalidate it straight away. He gets the first part right, the second part just swell. So will he get the race line to get from Softy? It's going to be very tight, but I think Softy might just keep it, and he does. He's still 4 tenths quicker than Matt.
Yeah, interestingly there, Matt obviously purple, sector 1, sector 2, clearly losing all of his time in that last sector. Maybe Softy a little bit more committed in that final chicane, or perhaps running a little bit less wing, assisting him down that long straight. Jack Hickey, meanwhile, down in 5th at the moment on another quick lap, a personal best through the first sector, but unfortunately he's now invalidated his lap time. That's not very good. Coat then, he's rounding his way through the final chicane. He's really committed there. This could be a really good lap from Coat, who really fancies his chances here and puts himself up into P6 nice. On a 108.7.
Yeah, good lap from the Haas driver. We've got Owen, I think. In fact, Owen's abandoned that lap. It wasn't quite. So he's going to for new tyres and go Aguilu and miss this 20p15 now. Both starting at the back as things stand. Paul needs to be quick to get hit on lap. His session needs to find 410s. Where's he going to find that 4? Softy might have it, but I'm sure the times will tumble towards the end of the session. Arena, and the times normally come down. But yeah, Jelly needs to set a lap soon, because at the moment he's in a very dangerous position going into the race. Yeah, a little bit precarious, and odd to see him also on the medium tyres, perhaps not expecting a very good qualifying session and thinking that tyre wear is going to play a big part in this race. It's normally okay around here. You've got to be a little bit careful. It is a marginal one stop, and you've got to be a little bit careful on the tyres in both stints, but without the too many high speed corners, mainly just the chicanes and the acceleration zones, it's not normally too bad. Paul McGuinness then on a flying lap in the Red Bull, as Dom said, the most capped TGP1 driver, heading his way through the chicane now. Paul taking a few wins in his time, I'm sure, even at Canada, but up the line, is he going to make an inroad into the field? He does, but it's only P11 at the moment for the Red Bull driver. Yeah, really tight, isn't it? Around third, fourth, and fifth. Less than 300s, isn't it, between Jonas, Dan, and Jack Hickey. Expect those guys to set improved laps very shortly. J. Luke then on the medium tyres, going for a different strategy for the race. He is about to complete his first time lap of the session. Where can he go on those medium tyres? He'll be hoping that he can somehow get in the top 10, I guess. Otherwise, he may well have just, qualified 11th and gone on the mediums anyway. So
yeah, so he's about 2 tenths off
time here
in Sector 1 on the session's best so far. For reference, he's matched sort of middle sector time that we were seeing from someone. He's about 4 tenths quicker than Owen was in the middle sector at that point, so that gives you a good idea of where he should be on the mediums now. So could be looking for around the late top 10s. But perhaps that's where he's aiming for on the medium tyres at the moment. The short run then to the line, then taking the closest route as he can, and he goes into P8. A very good lap time there from J. Luke in the 1:19.0s. He's run wide at turn 1 though, and he's doing a bit of grass cutting. He's saving the groundskeeper a little bit of day's work.
Yeah, while that was happening, Dan the Man's gone into P2. He's gone ahead of Matt Tibbos and Jonas, so now on the front row of the grid. Still 3 tenths adrift of the pace of the AlphaTauri driver, but Dan the Man will be very happy with that run. He will still have time to get back to the pits and go again as Softy now prepares to begin his third lap of the session.
Yeah, and we've got Softy on a lap. We've got Phil Bargewell also on a lap as well as we head into the last 5 minutes of qualifying. You can get 4 runs in here at Canada if you do your timings right. Under the bridge, Phil Bargewell comes then through the chicane. He's invalidated his lap time. That we're out enough of Phil then, and Softy has peeled into the pits too as the drivers, as we said, perhaps starting to get ready for their final runs. And no one on a competitive lap at the moment. We're going to go to Jake. He isn't on a competitive lap. He's had 3 laps invalidated so far, Jake. Not having a good session at the moment, the Red Bull driver. Languishing down in 16th at the moment. And is second to last. Will be second to last on the grid as things stand. Obviously, Corey with his qualifying ban at the moment down in P17 as the drivers are all returning to the pits. And Dom, we've got barely any action on the track. And we can take a time to reflect on the session so far. Softy showing his worth, Dom.
He has so far, hasn't he? Really responding from the pace that we saw from the rest of the field in America. Softy wants this win. He wants to be back on the top step. And he, for now, holds provisional pole by 3 tenths clear from Dan. But I reckon Dan, Matt, and maybe Jonas can all find 2 to 3 tenths. So it could be really tight. But then if Softy goes and finds 3 tenths himself, then it's probably all for nothing. But Softy, for now, with the edge over Dan and Matt. And yeah, I think drivers behind that want to improve are going to be Aiden, P11. What's that about? He won in the first week at Bahrain. But since then, it's not quite gone all his way. Jordan, I suspect, will find a bit more time. And then even JD should hopefully get a lap in. And they can put him inside that top.
Yeah, the session perhaps coming to some of these drivers at the moment as we head into the final couple of minutes. Remember, it's a short out lap there, so it's not really too much of a worry. We've got a driver starting a lap. We've got Wace starting a lap. We've got a bit of action on track to keep us entertained. The Haas driver obviously missing the race in America. Coming up now to these tricky turn 3 and 4. You don't want to take too much curb or too much grass, and unfortunately for Wace, he's taken too much grass, and that's his lap over already, and he's got a long time to wait for another go at it.
Yeah, it's not been the best start to the season for Wace.
Hang on a second, hold on a minute. Jake Davies has just set the fastest middle sector of the session. He's absolutely flying, the Red Bull driver. He's taken long enough to get a lap time going, but he's flying at the moment, Dom.
He is. This will be a real statement if he can go quick as with this time. He's got a very fast time of Softy to beat. If he can nail this final chicane right, careful not to cut it, get it just apex perfect, and he's invalidated it. It's all for nothing. He's out. Session done.
Unbelievable. It would have 184, which would have put him in P4. That's disastrous. Oh, God. Oh, he'll be so frustrated with that one. Jake really showing that he's got some pace, but unfortunately just couldn't keep a lap together, and he's not going to be able to get a run in unless he's kept a bit of life in his tyres. But this would be, a second or third lap now on this set of tyres, which he won't want to do, and he's invalidated this one already as well. Disastrous.
Yeah, you're
disastrous, awful.
Better off just pitting. Better off just pitting for JD now. There's not worth setting a lap on used tyres. He's not going to get back to the pits in time and get a new set, so that'll be his session done. In fact, he's probably useful for anyway, because this is his 4th run, and it's his 4th run that he has invalidated. The driver's now starting to leave the pit lane for their
J.
final
Luke
runs.
on a lap, Dom.
All of the top 7 out.
Yeah, J. Luke just coming through the first sector now. He's not made a personal best. He's run a little bit wide in that chicane as well. May even consider backing off, but he's still going for it at the moment. DRS open as he comes to the third chicane underneath the bridge. He comes really difficult braking zone. Got to hug the inside apex. Got to take as much as you dare on the second apex as well there and keep it out of the walls, of course. Heading up to the airpin. Brake as late as he dares. He's still not finding any time. He's got some traffic in front of him, but that might give him a tow.
Yeah, some very interesting lines from J. Luke on this lap. So maybe he is on a lap, but he was going offline for a few moments. I wasn't sure if it was actually a quick lap or not, but he's managed to get through. A bit of advantage from the Renault in front of him. He will take a bit of time from Alistair. Let's see if he finishes the lap. He is going to finish it, so it is going to be an improvement, we think.
Yeah, he's clearly confident enough. Maybe he didn't nail this sector last time round as he comes up to the line. And 1.90 for him to beat. He's 4 tenths off, but perhaps going to go for another run now as we got the drivers starting their final runs of the session. We've got Phil Bargewell making sure he's out of the way. Court has just started a lap even, forgive me. Jack Hickey heading through the first sector at the moment and finding a 10th. So interesting to see there. Johners, meanwhile, is heading to the end of sector 2, but unfortunately he's invalidated his lap. He's going to have to go again. Matt Tibos, meanwhile, is heading to the third chicane. Softy just a little bit further up the road, though, coming into the hairpin. What sort of lap time is he doing at the moment? Is he finding time? Yes, he is. He's found about a quarter of a tenth, Dom.
Matt Tibos has also found about 600ths of a second, so it's going to be really tight down the man. Also improving as well in the first sector. It's going to be really tight between these three. Softy, for now, right on the limit of his previous best. Can he match or maybe beat his previous best, a 1:07.9? Can that number come down? Danamat also responded, so this is going to be really tight.
Yeah, Softy really committed in that last corner, giving it absolutely everything. Is he going to improve on a 1:07.9? No, he can't. Matt Tibos next across the line. Can he move up? Yes, he can, to a 1:08.1. He goes onto the front row, and it's all on down the man now, who didn't have a particularly spectacular middle sector.
I'm not sure he's going to do it. He's not quite setting the pace that Matt and Softy have set, and it's all over for John. It's Jack, Core and Alistair behind. Those guys will not be improving, so it is just, I think, Dan and Phil. 2
Dan's
tries left to go.
Oh,
and that's his session done. So he will not be improving, and Softy should still be taking this pole position, unless his teammate Owen can do something down in 12th.
And it seems like Phil's had a spin as well, so he's not going to improve. It's disastrous for a lot of these drivers. Someone who is finding time, though, CJH, just could lift him up from P10 at the moment. If he nails his last sector, he could climb a couple of positions. It's very close between, as you said, Alistair, Aidan and Phil, who none of them were able to set improved lap times. J. Luke can't get into the top 10, but he will get a free set of tyre choice, Dom. But he has already used a medium set of tyres, of course. CJH commits to the last corner now. He keeps it in, but he invalidates his lap time in the exit. Disappointing for him. Owen Quimby's not going to improve. And I think we've had a bit of an anticlimactical end to the session there, but it ended, as we expected, with Softy on pole.
And Johners just about misses out on P2 from Matt Tibos, 300ths off the pace, but he does go ahead of Dan. So P3 for Johners at the end. He stuck a lap in. I wasn't sure he was improving, but somehow he managed to find the time, and he's gone third quickest, so he'll be very happy with that. But Softy, pole position, his third of the season, matches Matt Tibos' tally, and that's a very good session for Softy. As we go into the race, and we are expecting more clear skies.
Yeah. We got another good grid, and it's always an interesting race we have here at Canada. Lots and lots of overtaking opportunities, of course, down into turn 1 and towards the end of that net, of course, at the hairpin and the chicane too. So we're just waiting for a couple of drivers to retire, and then we'll be ready to go. There we go. So we'll give you a confirmed order of our grid then. With our championship leader, he's struggling in qualifying in America, couldn't get a lap in. Had a difficult race, but got it back to 4th, but he's found some form in Canada to go pole by 2 tenths of a second. The only man into the 1:07s. Matt Tibos joined him on the front row. Good for the Mercedes driver, our last time winner, of course. Just didn't have quite it in him in the end. John has a fantastic qualifying P3, joined by our inform man, Dan the man. Jack Hickman in P5 and Court of a fantastic qualifying up in P6. Alistair, our reigning TGP2 champion in P7, joined by his brother on the 4th row. Phil Bargewell will be disappointed, I think, with P9, and CJH rounds out the top 10. Just missing out then J. Luke and Owen Quimby. Obviously, all these drivers now with a free choice of tyre. So,
top 6, all for 6 different teams. Alfa Romeo find their drivers a little further back. Corey, what can he do from the back of the grid? Very good qualifying there, as you said, a bit anticlimactic towards the end, but we did see late improvements from Matt and Jean. But the skies look a little grey. We're not expecting any rain, but of course there's always a chance it could come towards the end. Maybe that's why Jolu chose to go on the medium tyres, but it should be a fascinating race to follow. And I'm keeping an eye on Court as well in the Haas P6. He qualified his best qualifying of the season. What can he do over the next handful of laps?
Yep, so we should have an interesting race coming up for you then. Just over 20 seconds to go until lights out. And it'll be interesting to see what some of the strategies the drivers use just outside of the top 10. As we said, tyre wear isn't a huge drama here, but it's certainly something that they need to keep an eye on. But it's all about that run into turn one. Short run into turn one, but a lot of incidents you can normally find into that tricky turn two as well then. So the drivers will have to be on their best behaviour. So we're just waiting for the last couple of drivers to get settled now. Aidan Griffin's taking a little while. It's quite a long run from the loo when you have to queue behind your brother. As we're still waiting for Aidan here, but we're hoping the start will be getting underway shortly. He says. Still waiting for Aidan here. Hopefully he'll be able to take part in the race. The Scottish driver not having very good luck with the internet tonight. As one of our only race winners this season. We've only had 3 in the first 7 races. But not having much luck at the moment. And he has left, unfortunately. So we've got 3, 4, 5 lights and 1 less driver. And we're underway in Canada, and it's a good start from the front row. Softy got away nice and cleanly. Matt getting a better getaway than he did in America. John is perhaps going to have a run at second, but he doesn't. There's a bit of concertinaing further back as Aidan car starts getting out of the way of everyone. But Softy's kept his nose clean, as has most of the field. You have to say very well behaved into the first couple of corners as Court made up a place on the opening lap up into P5. Really good start for him. Phil Barswell made up a position as well at Aidan's demise. But Dom, they've kept it clean, and so far at least they're filling into place nicely. As Jonas's round, it was going so well. And it's not Jonas, forgive me, it is Alistair. So real bad day in the office at the moment for the men from Inverness, Dom.
A brilliant start for the Red Bull of JD, up 5 places to 11th. He was picking cars off one by one. I was keeping an eye on it. Of course, getting in a place where Alistair spun round on that opening lap, but not what the Alistair and Aidan brothers needed. Down in 15th and 17th already, so not good for them. But Softy, crucially, staying clear of Matt Tibbles, and Matt Tibbles, crucially, keeping ahead of Dan and Jonas.
Yeah, Alistair's now gone as well, unfortunately, so we have lost our Inverness contingents. They did a good qualifying in a 4th row, but now occupying the last 2 positions, so disappointing for them. Court, as we said, making a good start. CJH making up 3 places, and Jake Dennis, after his brilliant start, has unfortunately picked himself up a penalty, as we have Corey in the pits at the end of lap 1 with what looks like wing damage.
Great move from Jack Hickey. He's displaced Court up to P5 now. The race point getting clear of the Haas driver. Court is back where he started as Dan the Man continues to hold off Jonas in P3. But what can Court do in this race? Can he keep himself in that top 6, or will he soon drop back and maybe end up being a fight for the points? But yeah, really clean start from everyone, but not for Corey or Alistair. Corey and Alistair in the pits from wing damage after the opening lap.
Yeah, not ideal for the 2 of them. They'll be hoping that they get a safety car or a VSC further along down the lines. The gap out front, only half a second though. Matt keeping very much in Softy's wheel tracks, and may even fancy a go in the main straight here. You know, it's easy done. No DRS yet, obviously only on lap 2, but Matt in prime position to be having a go at Softy. He's using a bit of his overtake. Both of these got similar battery lives at the moment, Dom, so it could come down to a tussled duel as Dan has made his way past Jonas. I don't know if that happened on lap 1, but he's certainly moved up a place now.
Yeah, it did. Dan got through on the opening lap. He's now just outside DRS territory for Matt Tibbles. Matt Tibbles is getting really close to the back of Softy. I thought Softy might pull away in the opening few laps, but it's Matt who sets the fastest lap on the second lap. The gap just 0.3 of a second. Bit of action behind his own has jumped the place as JD makes an early stop for new medium tyres. With Matt Tibbles harassing Softy here, and it looks like we've got a great race on our hands.
Yeah, not a good start for Phil, obviously picking up front wing damage thanks to that Alistair condition. He's struggling at the moment. I said condition then, I meant to say collision. No one has an Alistair condition. Not that I know what one of those is. Matt Tibos now with the benefit of DRS. Softy has pulled out a couple of tenths gap on the in the first sector of this lap. Really both of these pushing hard. Got a gap already to Dan the Man, so they're out of DRS threat from that behind. As Softy continues at the moment pushing as much as he can to break that DRS as best he can. Matt Tibos, a bit of a mistake into the hairpin there, a little bit ragged at the moment, who's only just holding on at the moment. Softy having to break the toe, which could cost him a little bit of time, Dom. He's clearly thinking he's got to do it already.
Court now defending from the McLaren of CJH. Can CJH get through going into the final chicane? Jack Hickey ahead, also looking to get through on Jonas. The McLaren driver has gone through into P6, so it's a really good start for him as Jack Hickey now all over the back of Jonas. The Racing Point coming alive in this race as Softy responds to Matt Tibos' previous best and sets the new fastest lap at this race. But Jack Hickey all over Jean. J-Luc now closing up to the back of Court, CJH, Jack Hickey and John as well, so it's really tight in this midfield at the moment.
Yeah, Phil Bargewell has had to pit thanks to that front wing damage, and as you rightfully said there, CJH having a really good opening stint at the moment, making up 4 positions in the first few laps as Court is now being put under masses of pressure from J-Luc, who started on the alternate tyres and has got a good opportunity at the moment, thanks to others' misfortunes, to make his way up the field and put himself in a good position as those in front start pitting. He has got DRS on the back of Court at the moment. Is he going to try and move into the chicane under the bridge? He thinks better of it. Court with a bit of a mistake though, could give J-Luc a good opportunity into the hairpin as Softy further in front has got a second gap now. J-Luc going to try and go around the outside, is he? They're braking pretty much line of stern. He's going to try and hold it round the ring of death round the hairpin. There's going to wall very close there. They're interlocking at the moment, and I thought for a moment that was going to end in tears.
Well, Jack Hickey's now about to take P4 from John as he's got much extra speed on the straight line. He will take it quite comfortably. He shoots through. He takes P4 from the Renault driver. And now John will have a chance to get him back on this second straight. Can he get him into turn 1? Not with an exit like that as CJH behind picks up a time penalty. Not where he needs. But yeah, Court crucially dropping behind J-Luc, and now Paul closing up to the back of these two as well. Yeah,
Court, unfortunately for him, dropping like a stone. Not good first couple of laps for the Haas drivers. Waste down in 16th at the moment with a penalty as well. So not going very good for the pair there. Softy with that second advantage over Matt at the moment. Dan keeping that gap at about a second, still keeping Matt honest, and has actually got DRS on this lap, just being inside that second mark at the detection zone. These two dropping Jack Hickey at the moment, who in turn is dropping Jonas. And CJH is now having to spend more time looking in his mirrors than he is looking in front, as he's got J-Luc all over the back of him on that alternative strategy.
Yeah, the Alfa Romeo getting very close to the back of this McLaren. Can he get through? Looking very good at the moment on the medium tyres. Of course, he'll pit a little later in this race, provided there's no safety car that disrupts his plan. But look at this, the pace he's got on these slower tyres. They're actually about half a second slower than the softs. But it doesn't look like it because the Alfa Romeo is getting very close to the back of the McLaren. I think this might be an easy move, maybe into the chicane, or maybe you'll have to wait for the next DRS going into turn 1, because the McLaren straight line speed is pretty fantastic as he keeps ahead going into the chicane. But for now, the front three stay as they are. But Jack Hickey starting to close on Dan, and here goes a good move here for Alfa Romeo, a chance to get CJH around the outside into turn 1. These two are going to go side by side. Will the Alfa Romeo run out of route? They bang wheels, and J-Luc's going to spin round, and that's him going to drop down a few places, and that's not what he needed.
No, as Matt Tibos picks up a penalty further ahead. He was being put under a bit more pressure from down the man there. Disappointing. A little collision there between CJH and J-Luc. I'm sure that'll be looked at later on today. But Matt putting himself under a bit of pressure now, having picked up that penalty at quite an early stage of the race, Dom, as Phil Bargerow now joins him.
Yeah, I think Softy will be relieved to see that Matt Tibos has picked up a time penalty. He now knows he can relax a little bit, not too much, because Matt Tibos is still within a second of him, and he can't afford Matt to have a go at him and put him under any more pressure. But Matt Tibos did not need that time penalty. Now he's under threat from the likes of Dan and Jack behind, who can gain places, and suddenly all the points he gained in America could be lost here. But let's see what action is on track at the moment. Court sticking with CJH. I think the top 5, 6 are sort of happy in their places at the moment. Can Court get back through on the McLaren driver for P6?
Yep, Court still, pace maybe coming back to him a little bit now. CJH perhaps looks a little bit of confidence, or perhaps lost some tyre life as he dives into the pits, as Matt Tibos joins him in there as well, leaves his work up to the Mercedes mechanics, clearly feeling that his soft tyres weren't going to take him much longer, which bumps these drivers up a little bit at the moment. Obviously, unique pit exit that we have here feeds you in on the outside of turn number 2, and you don't actually lose too much time in the stops, making an undercut very, very possible indeed.
That's worked out well for Matt. He's come out in clean air. Sorry, Mike, 5 seconds before he comes up to the next car, which is J-Luc. So Matt Tibos can now start to have some blistering times. And I suspect Softy will react straight away and dive in this time around.
Yeah, well, Matt's going to need to put in some good times. The gap just over a second, of course, when he came into the pits. He's not going to have that sort of advantage on the tyres that he's got on now. Jack Hickey still keeping up with Dan at the moment, so good race at the moment from the Racing Point driver as his teammate is languishing outside the point. I don't think he even managed to come back to the session, unfortunately, but are we going to see our race leader dive into the pits in reaction to Matt Tibos? Yes, we do. Got to get it under the speed limiter, which he manages to do, and now leaves the work in the hands of his mechanics. Matt Tibos is coming down the main straight at the moment, using every single bit of energy that he can find to try and leapfrog Softy. He's giving it absolutely all he's got, and he has to. Unfortunately, Court has picked up a time penalty in the pit stops. Where is Softy? He's left his box. Matt's long gone.
Yeah, Matt will take it. Matt will go through, so he's ahead, but of course does have the time penalty, but crucially ahead of Softy on the road. So Softy himself picks up a penalty. Suddenly it's back in Matt's favour. J-Luke, though, of course, going later into this race will be a car that these two have got to pass before the Alfa Romeo driver makes his stop. 2 seconds adrift at the moment, but they will very quickly close up to the back of the Alfa Romeo, who himself is fighting Paul McGee for P2 and P3. These two have had some great battles already in TGP in the past, and as you said, Court, 5-second penalty, not what he needed. He's got it all to do now if he wants to finish in the points.
Yep, so we have a race at the front. Softy will know of Matt's penalty, of course, but he is not a man to sit behind and wait for it to come to him. He will want to do it on the road, but will obviously have to be careful that he doesn't pick up a penalty himself. And these two have got a battling J-Luke and Paul McGuinness in front of them, which they'll have to bear in mind too. Softy will have DRS on Matt this lap as J-Luke puts a move easily on Paul McGuinness, who may himself even dive into the pits this lap. Will he? No, he doesn't. Carries on for another tour. Softy all over the back of the Mercedes driver. This is the net battle for the lead. Jonas staying out there as well as Matt Tibos sets the fastest lap of the race. These two giving it everything they've got, and Softy will really fancy his chances now, almost changing gear for Matt. He's that close to his gearbox.
Yeah, Jonas choosing to go long on these soft tyres. This will be his 9th lap on those red rubber, but he will surely pit this time round, choosing to go track position at the moment rather than tyre life. But you can see Matt and Softy already right on the back of Paul McGee's Red Bull, so much quicker on these much fresher, younger 8-lap tyres. And now look at this, Paul McGee. This is where it gets very interesting, because this is where Matt or Softy could very easily pick up time penalties as they battle between these cars in front of them.
Paul struggling, and Matt very lucky there not to sustain any damage, and he's going to try a move, I think, round the outside into the hairpin. Paul doesn't really fight it too much, but keeps his car there. This is where you can get caught up in a silly incident, but Matt does get past and puts his car in between himself and Softy. Paul might not be lucky enough to have DRS either. He does, but Softy with such a good run. Oh, and there's nearly contact between the Alfa Tauri and the Red Bull, with Softy getting close to Matt as well there, and gosh, I thought we were about to have an aeroplane accident, Dom.
I was out my heart in my mouth for a second there, but Matt Tibos now has got Softy right on the back of him. Matt lost a bit of time to the car behind as he was trying to get through on Paul, despite getting through Paul about a corner before Softy did. But you can see J-Luke now holding this lead, but just ahead of Matt and Softy. And J-Luke's tyres are very old now. Jonas has finally come into the pits. Where will he come out? It looks like he's going to be behind Corey, who was working his way up through the field after his poor qualifying and his early stop for front-wing damage. But Softy very close to Matt Tibos. This is brilliant stuff.
Yeah. Great racing throughout the field. Softy using every single inch of track that he feels he can get away with. Really good driving from the both of these two so far. Already got a second gap to pull behind. Matt all over the back of the Alfa Romeo driver there. He won't want to lose any parts of his front wing. He won't want to lose as much time as he can. He will have DRS on that straight. Is he going to try and move into the hairpin? Thinks better of it. Probably best so he can pick up the toe going then into the chicane to also act as a bit of a defence from Softy.
And Softy's got his second warning of this race. One more and he will get himself a time penalty. Matt Tibos isn't clearing J-Luke as quick as he would have liked. Softy could get both cars here. He's going to get J-Luke. He might even get Matt Tibos into the chicane. He's going to brake later, isn't he? Who's going to be the bravest? It is Softy, and it's a superb move to take both J-Luke and Matt. But can now Matt respond into turn one? Matt now has the DRS. It's his turn to attack. He uses everything. He's got all his errors, all his fuel. He goes to the line. He's going to get down into turn one. They're going wheel to wheel, the two title contenders. And Softy takes the position. Fantastic stuff.
Absolutely brilliant racing. These two giving it everything they've got. Softy with a spectacular move into the final chicane, passing two cars at once and making the most of it. Matt tried his best round the outside into turn number one, but just couldn't quite do it. And Softy retakes the lead of the race, and Matt's now got it all to do. He has got that penalty weighing down on him, of course, as well, as we got a spinner further back, and J-Luke is in the wall. Disastrous.
Luke just lost it by himself. It was looking good for him. He was going to have the soft tyre to the end of the race, but now he's going to drop right down the order. And when he pits, he'll find himself 14th or 15th. And all of his hard work in the opening 10 laps is unfortunately done. But Matt Tibbles is coming straight back at Softy, and he'll have another glorious chance to get him here on the 11th lap, Mike.
Yeah, this is great. Matt really giving it his all. Softy with better energy management so far has got that advantage. Matt perhaps will not try and move into the chicane. Will hold on to it for a little bit and try and move into the first corner perhaps.
He's just a bit too far back. Dan behind, picks up a time penalty. Good news for Jack Hickey, who was just within 3 seconds, but now just outside 3 seconds, the gap there. Jonas has passed Corey. He's now into P7 to work in his way up through the field. He's now right on the back of Court as well, right on the back of the Haas driver. How hard will Court make him work for this? Court is aware he has a time penalty. Jonas will go to the outside. He'll break a little later, and into turn 1, the Renault driver is through. He's ahead of the Haas driver, and Court now has to defend from Corey right behind him, and those two are going to go side by side.
Yeah, great move there from John, as you have to say, getting around the outside of Court. Corey going to try into the second chicane. Court closes the door just about late enough to keep him at bay. Meanwhile, back at the front, the gap is still less than half a second. They've got a bit of track in front of them, thanks to Aiden, but this might give Softy DRS for himself, which will be a nightmare for Matt, who's actually dropped back a little bit thanks to these two, which is Jordan and Aiden, the two guys coasting on the inside of the corner there. Two of these drivers now, Matt and Softy, with similar energy management.
Yeah, we've got Corey going up the inside of Court, trying to get through for P7. These two are really close at the moment. Great fight behind as Corey loses the back end. And Owen looking good for his first points of the season at the moment, into P9.
Yeah, good job from Owen there, and Corey continuing his recovery through the field. Meanwhile, back at the front, these two still hammer blowing against each other. Really good racing between the two of these, keeping line astern.
Really close at the moment, Matt, sticking within a second of Softy, so really tight between these two. Still all to play for in the closing laps.
Dom, we got 5.5 laps left. Who's going to win it?
I think Softy's looking good, isn't he? He's got that extra bit of edge at the moment. He's looking in control. He's sort of dominated this race really in a way. He's always had the edge over Matterfield. I think Softy has to be, for now, the favourite.
Yep, well, in just under 10 minutes' time, we will have our answer. Dan the Man, meanwhile, is pulling himself sort of into this fight, you have to say, creeping up on the two of these, who haven't really been battling as such, but have definitely got an eye on each other. So then, this another DRS zone. Matt 8 tenths behind, Dan a further second back. They make their way into the final chicane. Matt nowhere near this time, but the gap is staying about the same. The two of these drivers are almost having a time trial between themselves at the moment, just putting in lap after lap of quick times, leaving everyone else in their wake. And Matt then sitting behind Softy for the moment through this Sector 1 as Phil Bargewell, unfortunately for him, not having the sort of race he would want. This is still the closest battle on track at the moment. We've got Paul McGuinness causing Owen a bit of concern for the last couple of points places. Phil Bargewell not really going to trouble them at the moment thanks to his couple of penalties. As we head to the end of the middle sector, we've got another car back marker there as J. Luke further back sets the fastest lap of the race, but outside of the top 10 will not get the point as it stands. As we're still as we were at the front, gap less than a second, more back markers they're getting through, but Matt at the moment not with the opportunity to get past and managing his errors, you have to say, a little bit better at the moment, Dom.
Yeah, he's doing it really smart at the moment. He's managed to somehow be an advantage of Softy on the ERS management. But I don't know if you've noticed, but Alistair Bain has been in the pits 10 times. His AI car is going around and pitting every single lap. You may have noticed that on the full map if you got that up.
I haven't actually, I have to say.
10 stops already, so going
impressive.
for a record. Beating Jensen Button 6 from 2011, I think it was.
Yeah, I can't see Matt going on to win the... Alistair going on to win the race. So that would be very impressive if he managed to do that. But unfortunately, his AI taking the scenic route, I think we'd have to say, in this race at the moment. The top two then still within a second. It's been pretty much within a second ever since they both came out of the pits on around lap number 9. And neither one of these can seem to put one thing over the other. This is hopefully a good metaphor that we'll have for the rest of the season, Dom.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. We're seeing Matt Tibble stick within that second of Softy, even though Softy has now got that clear air and the slightly better tyre life. Matt Edwards is sticking with them, but unfortunately for him, it's
we've got safety car.
Safety car. Wow.
Well, this is going to massively help Owen Quimby down in 9th place at the moment. One of the only drivers to not... Oh, our Lord. And Matt nearly runs into the back of Softy there as he probably had to brake to get within the Delta time. We're surely not going to see anyone pit because we're likely only to have 1 lap's worth of racing now. Unfortunately, that was due to a retirement for Jake, who was in 13th. And is going to drop even further down at the moment. But we do have a safety car for the last few laps, and we're going to have a 1-lap showdown, Dom. But it's going to be a little bit anticlimactical because at the moment, Softy doesn't have a penalty. Matt does. So Softy may have this one in the bag as long as he doesn't pick up a penalty himself. Yeah,
and as you said, Owen, without a penalty as well, down in P9, could suddenly find himself getting maybe a sneaky podium at the end. The gaps, he's going to be right behind the drivers. It is going to be a 1-lap dash, we think. Softy has only now just caught the safety car, and there's plenty of cars that they've got to go round and catch up. Phil has chosen this as an opportunity to pit. Soft tyres, surely J-Luke will do the same. They should catch the safety car as long as it doesn't come in this time around.
Well, it came out on lap 15, and obviously they caught it on lap 16, so I think it's going to be out until... Oh, Owen's got a penalty.
Ah.
And it's a 5-second one at that as well. So actually, he's gone from a really good position to quite the opposite.
So that could be removed if it is for a glitch. It's coming in this lap. Okay, that's not good news for
that I really did not expect.
Yeah, it's going to be a 2-lap dash then, towards the end.
Yep. Softy backing up the field. Then we've got Paul catching them at the moment, just coming out towards the hairpin. Phil a little bit further back. I don't think Phil's going to catch it. The drivers will be able to see when the safety car can pull in, as is the unique nature of this Montreal circuit. Softy going to get ready to put the hammer down. When's he going to do it? I think he's gone for now. Oh! What?
What's happened? Matt Edwards is now ahead of Softy. I'm not quite sure what's going on.
I think Softy went but didn't, and it's been chaos. And we're going to turn 1 now. Softy has got the lead back at least, but for a moment there he didn't, and I don't quite know what happened there. But I don't think either of them has suffered any damage, but disastrous for the restart there, which didn't quite go to plan for, I think, any of the drivers.
Yeah, so Softy for now holds on then. Matt Edwards crucially not losing a place behind Dan and Jackicki are right on him. CJH, excellent drive at the moment in P5. What will Owen gain at the end if he gets that 5-second remove? Of course, Quartz was for speeding in the pit lane, so that won't get removed as Corey picks up his 5th penalty of the race. He's very unlikely to be scoring points here. But yeah, J-Luke hasn't caught up to the pack because he wasn't expecting to come in so quickly. But yeah, 1 lap to go as they come round the start-finish line next time round. Yeah, a lap and a half to go then. We're not going to have any DRS either this race, so it's going to be purely on fuel and management and how well each of them have kept their tyres. Matt, obviously, with 1 lap older tyres at the moment, not in maybe a good enough position, you have to say. Softy has got enough of a gap at the moment. Matt has used up all his errors for this lap. Softy hasn't yet. No moves coming down into the chicane for the moment. There's Matt picks up another penalty. Unbelievable. He's going to drop like a stone. 3 places. He is. Dan, Jack and CJ should all dump him at this rate. So Matt Tibbs needs to clear Softy quickly. Otherwise he's going to find us. Softy now back up Matt and allow the pack behind to keep within his title rival.
Well, if Softy had his head screwed on, he might do so, but I worry that Softy doesn't have his head screwed on, so might not make the most of that. But Matt just he hasn't got time to get the gap. He just has to hope that other people get penalties. Phil picks up another one further back. Disastrous.
Jack Hickey is literally 3 seconds behind Matt Tibble, so it's going to be really close to if he gets the final podium space with Matt dropping down. And surely going to take second as long as he doesn't pick up a time penalty himself. But Softy should hold on here. It's looking good for the AlphaTauri driver.
Yep, Softy, as you said, commanding win. The gaps are going to flatter the rest of the field a little bit thanks to that safety car. CJH could be on for a top 4 at the moment, although I think he's just a little bit too far back. But at the moment, as you rightly said there, Dom, Jack Hickey could be on for a podium. Just 2 more corners to go for Matt to gain any sort of places from mistakes from other drivers, you have to say, and it hasn't happened. To the line they come. Matt's actually going to have a run for the win, is he? But he doesn't manage it, and Softy wins again. There's an accident further back. And Owen has hit the wall, and there goes his point. And I shouldn't laugh as Phil and Paul go side by side, but Owen, 8 races into the season, has still managed not to get a point. when it was staring at him in the face. And that 5-second penalty in the end, Dom, was... what a muppet.
I was trying to work out what place he was going to finish if his time penalty was removed, but in the end, he gets nothing. CJH, what a drive to finish fourth. Matt Tibos finished fifth in the end, so all of his hard work for America has been undone. He drops to fifth in the end. Corey, driver of the day. Yeah, what a race back.
Thanks for the comedy factor as well there, Aaron. I really appreciated that one. But it's another win for Softy, another dominating performance, and this season just is going from strength to strength for him. His 6th win of the season, winning all but 2 races so far. Can anyone put a stop to it? It doesn't look like it at the moment.
Great drive from Paul to take P8. Court did also finish 7th position, so only dropped the place in the end. He'll be very happy with those 6 points. Phil did come back to score 2 points, and Corey just about held off J. Luke to take that top 10 place. And J. Luke, fastest lap, but like last time, no one gets the point as it was outside the top 10.
Yeah, he needed someone else to have a crash, really. I think Owen, he would have been a bit more grateful if Owen had taken someone out on his way through, perhaps. But your race order then for the final race of the night, Softy with the victory, pole to win for him. He'll be very pleased with that. Dan the Man in P2, a strong result for the Ferrari driver. Jack Hickey picking up a podium place. He'll be really pleased with that. CJH, my personal driver of the day, I have to say, in P4, a really strong showing from him. Matt Tibos will be gutted with P5. It looked like he could be challenging for the win, and he ends up only picking up 10 points from this race after his win in USA. He actually drops points to Softy in the end, so disaster for him. Johners in P6. It could have been a little bit better, you have to say. Court in P7. Paul McGuinness in P8. Phil Bardwell comes home 9th, and Corey rounds out our points finishers. So, Dom, I've already given my driver of the race, I guess you could say, for Canada. Who pulled out the stops for you there?
Yeah, I think I have to agree. CJH P4, what a drive it was for him. And a bit of a tangle with J. Luke earlier in that race, but he kept his cool, finished P4, gained at the end. When Matt Tibos dropped a few places, he'll be good of himself. It should have been a P2 easily for him. That late safety car did not help things, and in the end, only 5th. But yes, Softy has actually extended his gap tonight, despite his poor showing in America, so he'll be slightly relieved, I think, after that one.
Even when he has a poor night, he still manages to get the results. Well, it's been another great evening of racing. Dom, thank you again for joining me, and we look forward to next week's racing, which, if I'd been prepared, I would have looked at what it was. I can remember one of them, but not the other one. I know we're heading back to Europe, but that's about as far as it goes. Dom, I think you should take over that bit.
So it's Belgium and France next week.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That 5th round of the season.
Yeah, very good. Week number 5, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Thanks very much for watching.